Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your third video blog of the day for Sunday, June 28th, 2015, around 4:25 in the afternoon, Berwick, Massachusetts. Raining still, it's only about 55 and chilly for this time of year. Some news to report: the LA Kings put Mike Richards on waivers, are going to buy him out. And also, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to re-sign Kevin Garnett to a contract for next season. And LeBron James opted out of his final year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to give him a max contract, so he's staying put with the Cavs. And the Boston Red Sox beat the Tampa Bay Rays by a score of 5-3 today to take the rubber game of the 3-game series. And that's about it on news. My next video blog subject of the day is about the classic television game show Sale of the Century. Sale of the Century had 2 runs on NBC. The first one was from September 29th, 1969 through July 13th, 1973. And it also had a syndicated version, September 1973 through September 1974. The original host of Sale of the Century was Jack Kelly. He was an actor famous for being in Maverick, and it was created by Al Howard. And later on in that version of Sale of the Century, Joe Gaggiola hosted it, and the co-host for the Sale of the Century for the first version was Barbara Lydon, Madeline Sanders, and Kit Donaghy, and the announcer was Bill Wendell. And in the original version of Sale of the Century, they had 3 contestants that started off $25 each, and they would ask them general knowledge questions. If they got it right, they got $5. If they got it wrong, they got $5 deducted. If any time a player reached $0, they would be eliminated. And from time to time, they would have instant bargains and stuff for like prizes and stuff. And they would like the player in the lead would get it, and they would buzz in and they would deduct money off of it. And they like doubled the questions every round to like $10 and $20, and then they had a century round where they asked 5 questions for $20 each, and then at the end of the game, whoever won the most money got to shop for prizes and stuff. And towards the end of the original Sale of the Century run on NBC, they had instead of 3 players, they had 2 couples competing against each other, and they did that for the syndicated version in 1973 and 1974. Sale of the Century was a decent hit on NBC in the late 60s and early 70s, but all of the episodes of Sale of the Century during that time were wiped out because NBC destroyed all videotapes of daytime and late night talk shows from when it first went on the air to like 1980, because videotapes were real expensive back then, and plus they didn't even think they would have value in rerun rights and stuff like that. This Sale of the Century was filmed at NBC Studios in New York. By like the mid-1970s, Australian producer Red Grandy purchased the rights to Sale of the Century, and he revived it in his home country of Australia. And it was a big hit in Australia. Also, it was a big hit in New Zealand and the UK. And 1983, Red Grandy brought back Sale of the Century to the United States on NBC, revived it, and it was revived. And it premiered, the revived version premiered on January 3rd, 1983, and it lasted through March 24th, 1989 on NBC, and it also spawned a syndicated version from January 7th, 1985 through September 12th, 1986. The host of Sale of the Century in the 1980s version was Jim Perry, and his co-host were Sally Gillian for the first couple of months of the show, but she was real annoying, and she got fired. And then she was replaced by Lee Menning, who was a co-host for about a year and a half until she had a baby, and then she left the show to take care of the baby. And from the remainder, from late 1984 through when the show got canceled in March of 1989, Summer Bartholomew was the third and final co-host of Sail of the Century. She was very perfect in that role. And the announcer for Sail of the Century during this time, for most of its run, was Jay Stewart, and towards the end, Don Morrow took it over around 1988 or so. And gameplay played on Sail of the Century was as follows. Each player got $20 a piece to start off with, and if they got a question right, they would get $5 added onto the score. If they got it wrong, they would subtract $5. Once they reached zero, they would remain in the game and stuff, not like the original version and stuff like that. Every so often, they would have instant bargains, and they would have prizes sold off of discounted merchandise, a couple of questions and stuff. And Jim Perry would always entice the contestants with giving them extra cash money up to $500. But sometimes he says going once, going twice, no sale. Sometimes they didn't want to buy a prize to protect their lead and stuff like that. But from time to time, they would have sale surprises, which they could get additional cash from $3 to as much as $1,200 and stuff. And usually, halfway through the run in 1986, the third instant bargain was the instant cash prize, which would be a value of the player in the lead's question. They're like what they had in dollars, and then each day it started at $1,000. It was 3 boxes, 1, 2, 3. They could pick any of them. 2 have $100 bills. 1 had the cash jackpot, which started at $1,000, and it would go up $1,000 a day if it was not claimed and stuff. And sometimes they would win it, sometimes they didn't. And then they had this thing, the Fame game, which was they have a famous person, place, or thing, and it was not for dollar values. They had control of the Fame game board, which originally they had faces of famous celebrities and stuff, but after a while it was numbers 1 through 9 on there, and they usually had prizes on there, and sometimes they had a $25 money card, and $15 money card, and a $10 money card, which was valuable to the players because that could boost their score from going from third to first place. The regular game ended with at first 3 questions, which was anticlimactic because most of the time the game was over when the third and final Fame game was. But to be fair and equal, they had the speed round, which Jim Perry had 60 seconds on the clock, and he did many questions on this within the 60 seconds, and sometimes the speed round would be awesome because the players who were behind would always sometimes take over the lead, or the player in the head would probably pull away and stuff like that. But the speed round was very fantastic. Then the winner of the game usually went on to go to the bonus round. At first it was a shopping thing where if a player won on Sail of the Century, if they had $95, they could leave the show if they got a smaller prize, which was a piano or luggage and stuff like that, or they would go on for a bigger prize for maybe refrigerator or a bedroom set and stuff, or a bigger prize if they had enough money and this and that, trips and cars and stuff, or they reached over $750. They could have the cash jackpot, which started at $50,000. That shopping element lasted maybe about 2 years, and then they changed the bonus round to the winner board, where they got 20 numbers and they were guaranteed to get a prize. They would have to match 2 prizes. Say if they had $2,000 in cash, they would have to match it twice, or a television or a car. But if they got a win card, they automatically won the next prize they would reveal. It was like a wild card. That was from that winner's prize money was from 1984 through 1988. Then from 1988 through the end of the series, they had another bonus round, which was the big money's winner, and the player who won the game automatically got a bonus prize, and then would join up for the big money's win, which started at $5,000. Jim Perry would give the contestant three envelopes, and each one of the envelopes had puzzles, 6-word puzzles. They would have to guess 4 of them within 20 seconds and stuff like that. If they won it, they first won $5,000 and $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, and $10,000 and stuff. And it was it. And Sale of the Century was a great game show on in the 1980s. It was a classic one. It combined like when the instant bargains and stuff. Jim Perry with like when he was enticing the contestants with money and stuff like that. It was a kind of an element of let's make a deal and stuff. And also some of our following was a great co-host and stuff. And also they had actors and actresses playing the skits for instant bargains, which was pretty good and stuff like that. It was good. They changed around with like the speed round before in the around like the second season of the show, and also the bonus round from the shopping elements to like getting prizes and stuff. I really didn't like the big like money winner towards the end, but I think they were cutting back on the budget on that show during like the late 1980s and stuff. So it essentially was a big hit on NBC for about 6 years. Also it spawned a syndicated version which lasted about 2 years. NBC canceled Sale of the Century in 1989, March of 1989. The final of Sale of the Century was not shown on the East Coast because that was the day, March 24th, 1989, of the infamous Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska. So most NBC affiliates on the East Coast did not see the final few minutes of the Sale of the Century finale. It was shown on the West Coast and stuff. Reruns of Sale of the Century were shown on the USA Network from September 1992 through June of 1994, and then GSN through September from like April 2013 through March 2013. They had showed the last few months of the NBC version, and then they showed all of the syndicated version. It's assumed that all episodes of Sale of the Century have been saved and stuff like that, but there's been lots of rumors going around that most of the series was destroyed by NBC or Red Grandy Productions because they would tape over Sale of the Century on NBC a lot, but that rumor is not to be true and stuff like that because NBC stopped wiping out the daytime shows by 1980. It probably might be in a vault and Fremantle's vaults in Los Angeles and stuff because Fremantle owns the rights to Sale of the Century and stuff like that. And I heard rumors that Spuzzer might be getting reruns of Sale of the Century in the near future, which would be pretty good. And that's about it on Sale of the Century. And I'll be back with the third and final video blog of the night. The fourth and final video blog of the night about one of the most famous catchers in Major League Baseball history. Number 8 for the New York Yankees, Yogi Berra. It ain't over till it's over. Have a good day, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And keep calm, and I'm a Julie Prodding guy. Have a good day, everybody.